All right, all right. Positive energy all the time. Good to see you all. Rep your city. Rep your city. I am represent Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to everybody on Twitch, Kick, Facebook, and YouTube. Let's get it. Come on in, come on in. We got Greensboro in the building. We got New Orleans in the building. We got San Jose in the building. Come right on in. Tonight, I am going to get into a lot. I'm going to talk about the history of history for foundational Black Americans. We're going to get into that. I am ground zero when it comes to Black history. It started with my generation, basically. So we're going to get into that. So then I can explain to you why I really discourage you from putting too much time into ancient history. Ancient history is not applicable, young people. It's something that makes you feel good all over, but it doesn't do anything for you at all. It does nothing for you. What I'm going to tell you, most people like myself would never tell you. I'm supposed to rattle off all of the information I got. Really. I was supposed to rattle off about Nubia and Atlantis and Mu and Alkebulan and ancient Kemet. But I won't do that. I'm going to explain to you that whole situation. Now, me, good to see you, Lady Linus. We got Houston in the building. The reason I got on the internet was because I used to listen to my mother and father talk about more recent history. You understand? You all need to know the more recent history. Ancient history is worthless. The only history that's applicable that you can function from is more recent history. And how I got on the internet is that my mother was born in 1935. My father was born in 1931. And they used to tell me stories, but mainly my mother. My mother used to talk about World War II and how in Alabama at night, by 7 o'clock, everybody had to turn all their lights off because the United States government didn't want the Japanese or the Germans to be able to see where anybody lived at. So if they made the country black, the enemy wouldn't know where to bomb at. If the enemy's seen a bunch of lights right here, they know either military's there or people's there so they could bomb it. And my mother said if you didn't have your lights off, the federales would come and kick your door in and arrest you and call you a spy and say you're signaling to the enemy planes. So listening to these recent historical stories, I wanted to get my camera and started to interview elders. That's what made me have my segment over here, the elder observation. So we can get some of the more recent history. So let me give you the background of history. Because I know a lot of you see me say, all that old history and stuff is trash, which it is. What I mean by trash is something you throw away when you don't need it anymore. When you unwrap it, when you take the wrapper off of candy, what do you do with the wrapper? It's trash. So when you unwrap that history, after that, what is it worth? But we're going to get into, first, let's get into why we got into ancient history. Because they always tell you about history and people want to talk about ancient Kemet, but they cannot tell you, especially if they're younger, they can't tell you the process within foundational Black Americans that led to people like me going to see a Dr. Ben, going to listen to Henry Clark and all the others. And this is how the process happened. It got to a point where there was a great migration from the South, and a lot of Blacks started coming to the North. My grandmother and her brothers, they went to Detroit. My mother came here. My father came here with my Uncle Stanley, my Uncle Oscar, my Uncle Sidney. So them four came here. My father's the youngest of 13, 3 sisters, 3 girls and 10 boys. He had 9 brothers. A couple of them passed away. One of them, I think he passed away from malaria in the war overseas. And so they come up. I'm born in 1958. So I'm born in 1958. Now, the first movement of foundational Black Americans was the Pride, the Black Pride movement was the first movement after the Great Migration. I know about the movements down south to defend yourself and all that, but I'm going to start with my particular history, which is going to start in the 60s, because I'm born in 1958. So when they came up, the first movement was the Pride movement, right? Be proud that you're Black. Be proud of your kinky hair. So we started to wear the afro. James Brown, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, which I did at a recital when I was 10 years old. So that's the first thing we on that. We ain't really on history. At that time, the only history, we really wasn't doing history. Okay? So the United States was not doing history in the 60s. When you went to public schools, you had reading, writing, and arithmetic. And you had geography. We didn't have history class. We had geography class, and geography was just letting you know where everything was. This is India. This is China. It wasn't about the history of the places. It was about the geographical locations. This is when I went to school. I'm giving y'all super knowledge right now. So when I was going to school, we didn't do history. We did geography. As we move on, the Gil Scott-Heron era, they unalived Fred Hampton. Boom, I'm getting older. By the time I'm getting like Jr., saw Gil Scott-Heron, Last Poets, the next level of blackness, because I'm like the black power baby. So when you hear these dudes talking black power, they shouldn't talk that to me because I'm the original black power baby, right? I'm ground zero for the black power for the kids. The OGs was black power. We was the kids. We want to be like the OGs, right? So my parents had reading, writing, and arithmetic. We had new math. We didn't have arithmetic. So when I would come home from school, my daddy would add up his bills. He would say, Michael, come in. And he'd say, is this right? And I look at him like, yeah, Dad, that's right. He said, all right. Right? He would make me check his adding up his bills. So we're going to get to my personal story. So I go work at a book factory. See, interesting, right? So I work with my auntie at a book factory. We printing all the books, all the paperback books. When I decided to go back to college, I go to Vandercook College of Music. When I went to Vandercook College of Music, I went to be a conductor, a director, a music teacher. And at Vandercook College of Music, every year, you got to learn like 10 instruments. So like my freshman year, I had to learn my major was trumpet. I had to learn piano, trombone, tuba, violin, viola, choir, music theory, some other classes. Roots had came out. So when Roots come out, see, they won't tell y'all the facts. I'm telling you the real history. When Roots came out, Roots was the first time foundational Black Americans was exposed to slavery. Facts. You had movies, Buck and the Preacher and stuff like that, but it wasn't like Roots. And the reason Roots was so fantastic and so dramatical is because the movie's only 2 hours. So a movie has to rush. But Roots was a series that come on an hour. So that's like 7 hours if it come on for a week. So it went into more detail about slavery. Well, being young and straight out of high school, we already from the Gil Scott-Heron era all the way back to Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. So I'm at the music college. I'm getting irritated because I feel like I don't know no Black history. So when I'm almost getting ready to finish my first year, I couldn't go no more. I started ditching and going to the library and reading Malcolm X Speaks. And when I read Malcolm X Speaks, I came out the library and I was mad at the world. And I hated Martin Luther King Jr. because I had got the wrong concept about MLK. So I'm saying all of this to say this is the beginning of the Black history era. Okay? So when you hear people talk about the Black scholars, you got to understand the Black scholars are nothing without the students and the audience. It was the audience that created Dr. Ben. Not Dr. Ben didn't create Dr. Ben. We created Dr. Ben because we found out about Black student unions. And Black student unions would get together and bring Dick Gregory, bring Dr. Ben, bring these lecturers to lecture. So we became thirsty for their knowledge because what? Because our parents were sharecroppers and didn't have any history of ourselves. So I'm ground zero of Black history. It's a fact. I'm like the king of that if I want to be. Right? That's ground zero. When I went to see Ben and all them, I was like 20. It's like 1978, 79, 80, 81. You know, a few years I'm going to see them. And so there was the thirst for the knowledge. So I went and grabbed it all. When I say I grabbed it all, my book collection was crazy. So I grabbed all the knowledge. The African origins of the three major Western religions, Black man of the Nile, you name it, all the holy books, every book you can get to study Krishna, and Buddhism, and all of the history of all the religions, and all of that. So here I am now. I'm 67. I started growing my dreadlocks when I was 20. I went plant-based and started growing my dreadlocks. I've been having these dreadlocks on my head for 47, going on 48 years. I've been plant-based for 47, going on 48 years. And even though I knew all of this historical information, I didn't make no money off of that. I made my money because I know how to play music. Right today, at 67, I can go right now and buy a bass guitar, find out who needs a bassist to go on tour, and I could be on tour within 2 or 3 weeks, no later than a month, depending on when the band schedule is. I can go make money because I got a skill. I'm a musician. I went to Vandercook College of Music to be a conductor, you know, where you got to read treble clef, bass clef, and you got to be able to read all the instruments in an orchestra. I have an actual skill. The history I know is worthless. It's trash. I can't make any money with it. I could try to hustle. If I hustled my people and made y'all think it was important, then I could sell it to you. And so a lot of times when you see people telling you to value your history, they're trying to sell it. And the only value of it is the money you give them. That's it. Because other than selling it to you, you will get nothing from it. There is no job I can get or no money I can make with my historical knowledge. There's nothing I can get from knowing about ancient Kemet. There's no money I can make from knowing about a Kebulon. There's no money I can make from none of that. The scholars that did come, they wasn't helping us. They was making money. They was helping themselves. They was booking tours to Egypt, not for you to learn about Egypt, to make money for themselves. It was a hustle. Take you to Egypt and tell you how great you are, charge you so much each, boom, get a bag. They wasn't doing that for the betterment of Black people. They were doing that because that's the only way a historian could make some money. Without that, they couldn't make nothing. And the historians used to come to the cities and sell their books. That's the only hustle they had. And as time went on, nobody was interested, and they all went broke because they didn't have no skill They were just historians. And being a historian is not a skill. The knowledge of a historian, you can't apply it. I had a lot of books, so I don't have them anymore, traveling a lot. This is the Ospey. A very enlightening book. Lots of knowledge. Is it going to bring any value to your life? Very little. It's going to be a lot like watching a movie. You're going to get the good feeling and enjoy the movie, but after the movie is over, it's over. And once you read this and learn what's in here, you're not going to be able to apply it nowhere in life. Facts. So if you're a young person listening to me, or if you're a young parent, don't let your children take no history. Don't let them take no history classes. When your children go to high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, make them take math and science every year. Y'all talking about the gangs, that's because you ain't standing on your children. Every year, they must take math, science. You're also looking for engineering and robotics. They must take that every year. Because with math, science, engineering, and robotics, when they're in high school, they might tell you, Daddy, I don't want to do robotics. I don't want to be an engineer. Let them know you don't have to be, son or daughter. You're in high school, and this is just your job application. What do I mean by that? My youngest daughter, I did this with her. She didn't want to take the robotics the first year. After the first year, she didn't want to take it the second year. She didn't want to take the engineering the first year. I forced her. By the second year, she loved robotics and was traveling all over the country in robotics competitions. And she loved engineering because she got in robotics through the engineering class. And I told her that I want her to ace all those things because this is her job application, meaning when she applies to go to college and she sends her grades and they look at her grades and they see A in math, A in science, A in robotics, A in engineer, you're in. Then you decide what you want to be in life. You just did that in high school, right? To be able to apply to any college you want to go to and be accepted and to get lots of scholarships. Lots of scholarships. So that you won't get out of college and be in debt for a whole lot of money. So, what does this have to do with this conversation? Because the information that we learned, that I learned about Kemet and all that, was only because the generations before us didn't know any of it. And we were looking to find out who we are. But once we find out who we are, I'm able to just tell my children this is who we are. And it's not necessary for them to find out who they are anymore. It's not necessary for them to go study what I studied because they're a different generation. And now they have to make sure everything they study is applicable. They have to be able to turn that into a career. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay mortgage, light, gas, car insurance. And all this reading, this historical stuff that's giving you bubbles all over and making you feel like you know something, but you can't do nothing with it. That's why one of your top scholar historians on YouTube is gossiping now. You know why he's gossiping? Because he's got to make YouTube money, because he ain't got no skills. So now if Ray J do something, Ray J did this or that, and this is a comedic scholar that all of a sudden start talking about gossip all the time. Because what? He's a YouTuber now for money. Why is he a YouTuber for money? Because that knowledge he got ain't going to pay no bills. That's why. This is going to pay the bills. And there's very few people want to hear that. So if you want to get views, you're going to have to talk about what people today want to hear. You can't force them to click on nothing about ancient Samaria. Okay? You can't get nobody, and they're not going to click on Al-Qibla. So you got to talk about Lil Durk or whatever, which is what your comedic scholar is doing. And I'm not hating on that, because you got to get the bag. I'm just using that example to show you that the actual conscious knowledge is worthless. It's not going to pay no bills. You can't make no money off of it. And you can't even sell Black consciousness if the next generation ain't into it. Because Blackness comes in generations. It don't come like that. You have groups that come and be like that. Boom. The older brothers in the 60s. Boom. Us in the 80s. It was a groups. Bam. Bam. Not everybody gonna go like that. So you're gonna have knowledge that's not applicable. It's just stuff gonna make you feel good, but you ain't gonna be able to take care of yourself and make a living. This is a fact. That's why you don't see me. I don't have to look at YouTube and talk about everything happening to every rapper, because I got other things going on. So I can come over here pretty much when I get ready. I don't got to come over here every day and just make up something to talk about. I ain't talking about nothing and just hustle at YouTube. If Black conscious information was that great, why can't nobody get rich on it? Ancient history is worthless. The only history that you will be able to function off of is history closer to your time period. Because history closer to your time period shows you how to finagle in your generation. Learning about somebody way back in Akhenaten time is not going to show you how to function now. To know how to function now, you got to know more information about the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000 to function now. Only more recent history will prepare you to be able to function. Ancient history is trash. You're going to see these brothers out here always bashing Jesus, always bashing the Christian church. Ancient Black history ain't nothing but a red, black, and green Christian church. It's the same feel-good sermon. We was kings and back, and it was the great Imhotep. That ain't no different than saying Jesus and John the Baptist. It's the same thing. John the Baptist, Imhotep, Ramesses, so and so. It's the same as Christianity. It's the same. It's just a red, black, and green Christian church. I'm not saying this to put no brother down. I'm saying this based on my own life. This is facts from me. I'm saying that stuff don't benefit me none. None, no black historical knowledge I've learned have benefited me in any kind of way. What else say? Well, you changed your name. I changed my name because of Malcolm X, because of Muhammad Ali, because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, because of more modern people that I could see. I seen Muhammad Ali change his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. I seen Lou Alcindor change his name from Lou Alcindor to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's why I changed my name. I ain't changed my name because of ancient Kemet. I didn't even get my name from ancient Kemet. I got my name out the Bible. I got my last name from ancient Kemet. I got my name out of Genesis chapter 47. It's saying the land of Ramesses. That's where I got my name from. When they gave Joseph and his brothers the best land in all of Egypt, the land of Ramesses. Because when I was a teacher, right? When I was teaching on the streets, Black consciousness, I had to use the words that the students understood. So I couldn't say Al-Kebulon. I had to say Africa. I couldn't say Kemet. I had to say Egypt. Now you're going to say, well, bro, why you couldn't say Kemet? I'm going to give you an example. I'm talking to a brother. I said, we from ancient Kemet. He's like, ancient Kemet, what is that? Then what I got to say? That's Egypt. If I say we from Mount Kebulon, what black folks going to say in Compton? What black folks going to say on the south side of Chicago? What black folks going to say in L.A.? What black folks going to say on the west side of Chicago? What is Al Kebulon? And then I still got to say what? I still got to end up saying Africa. So I might as well say Africa, right? Because words are not to be precise. Words are for the purpose of communication. And if I say Africa and you know where that's at and you know the place I'm talking about, the communication has been completed. I don't have to say Al-Kebulon. All I have to do is make sure you know what location I'm talking about. And I can use any word so that you know it's that location. I don't have to say one. I can say uno, dos, if you speak Spanish. As long as you know uno is this. I don't have to say one. So Al-Kebulon is uno and Africa is one. It's real simple. And Africa was not named after a white man. He was named after the Afri people in Central North Africa. He was not, they did not name Africa after that conqueror. So I had to show you how the scholars out here ain't taught our people nothing. Because they still on Instagram and still on TikTok teaching that they named Africa after that invader, but they didn't. He picked his last name from the Afri people because in ancient times in Europe, whoever you conquered, you took on the last name of the people you conquered as a general. So Africa's not named after him. He's named after a tribe in Central Africa. Facts. Just a side bit of history for you to know the facts on that. He's named after that white man that conquered up there, that conquered Hannibal, took on the name of Free because he beat the Afri people up there. Or Afar. Afri or Afar, A-F-A-R, people. Two pronunciations, you pick the one. And so, what I'm telling you all, nobody would tell you. Most people like me that read all those books and studied all that ancient information got too much pride. They're going to ride the horse until it dies. They're not like me. Even though I've studied all that stuff and I mastered that stuff, I got a responsibility to the young people to listen to me. And sometimes you got to tell the truth. And the truth is that everything I learned about ancient history is worthless. It's not worth a hill of beans. It won't do anything for your life. It won't make your marriage better. It won't make you a better father. It won't make you a better mother. It won't make you a better son or a better daughter. It won't put any money on your table. It won't give you any employment. You won't make $1 off of ancient Black history. And if you write a book, you got to plagiarize Diop's, and Dr. Ben, and all of them, because it's already been written. So what, you going to rewrite something that's been written already? And Dr. Ben died broke and gave all his books to the Nation of Islam. And so that information is not applicable. History is the worst class you could take. If you want to learn something, learn a trade, young Black man. Learn auto mechanics, electrician, pipe fitting, plumber, carpenter. Go to medical school, be a nurse, be a doctor. Learn how to work the x-ray machine. Learn how to put cast on people's arms. There's hundreds of positions in the hospital, the different jobs, radiologists, all that. History don't open nothing. History don't open your mind to nothing. History, the only history to open your mind is recent history that'll show you where you're at today. Ancient history is a waste of time. That's a fact. How old are you, Hellblazer? How old are you? Because I'm 67. Okay, old enough. All right. I can't talk to you no more. Yeah, I can't talk to you no more. If I got mods, get them out of here. Hold on. Let me go over here and get them out of here. Give me a minute. Let me get them out of here. I'm trying to talk to people who can learn something. So history is a waste of time. Okay? Total waste. It won't do anything for you and has no benefits. Okay? It'll do nothing for you. Don't waste your time with it. Right? It won't do nothing for you. All it'll do is waste your time. You won't learn nothing. It won't open up nothing. It'll give you a euphoria that feels like something. This is what religion does, the same thing. Religion gives you a euphoria, and it makes you feel like something's been accomplished when nothing has. You'll just be sitting around, oh, wow, that was deep. Oh, wow. But it's not, you won't be able to apply it to anything in life. You won't be able to apply it. You just know it. The only history that benefits you is the history of the field you in. So if you're going to be a farmer or do agriculture, the history of agriculture could help you because it could tell you what they did to grow their corn when it was a droughts or when there was floods. But other than the history of your profession or your trade, it's basically a fake euphoria. And nobody's going to tell you this that learned the history because they got too much pride. They ain't going to tell you the truth. It takes a lot for a man to say he wasted his time with it. They claim they want to save the youth, but they won't tell the youth the truth. The truth is that history is the worst class you can take right now. You'll be lucky if you can get a job as a teacher. And you need to know some skills. You need to have a real skill. Whether that's a salesperson, a patient rep, a good communicator. You can speak well so you can do online businesses. Driver, you drive well, you get good driving skills, deliveries, medical, technical, plumbing, heating and cooling. Basically, that's what you should study. And the only history that you need is the history 30, 40 years back from when you was born. That's it. You'll be fine. If you're born in 1990, the only thing you need to know about is the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, and the 50s. That's it. That's all you need to know. It's the basic stuff that got to where you at. That's more applicable because it takes you up to where you at. If you start way back in ancient Israel, you can't take all the steps up to where you at. That's way back there. So now you got to talk about way back there. Then you got to skip up to where you at now. But it's 2025. If you talk about 2015, you can go 2015, 2020, 2025. That's applicable. That's something that allow you to see where you at right now. You can't really monitor your life based on ancient history. Also, ancient history is not 100% factual. A lot of it is assumptions. Can somebody really tell you everything happened in Egypt way back then? Y'all believe that? Y'all believe I could tell you details about ancient Egypt? Anybody believe that? Anybody believe we know the details on the children of Israel? We know a vague story from the Bible, but we don't know the details. Even when you study Christianity, Christ was missing all them years. Nobody knows where he was at. And nobody knows what happened to him after they seen him walk around after he was crucified. So all that stuff is hearsay. But electricity, being an electrician, that's not hearsay. If you don't plug that stuff up right, you can get electrocuted. Plumbing, that's not based on hearsay. Carpentry, build it right or it's going to fall down. History is something that'll make you feel accomplished. It'll make you feel like you accomplished something. When in reality, in society, you have not accomplished anything. You just memorize some stuff that you can't apply no kind of way in life. There's nothing you can apply from King David, Solomon, Imhotep, none of them. You can't apply none of that stuff. Now, and so that's why you don't see me talk about too much stuff like that. I talk about what's going on with us now, how we can move and shake now, what needs to be done now, what's going on with us globally now, what's going on with our health now, what's going on with our economics now, what's going on with our relationships now, what's going on with our children now, what's going on with our seniors now, what's really happening in these hospitals, what's really happening in these politics, what's happening with the housing market. I've been doing this. Other people copying me. So when you people see people come over here, they can say whatever they want to say, but I'm one of the first ones to do this. When I first got on YouTube, nobody was doing this. I was the only person on here talking about real life situations. Nobody was on YouTube doing this. Everybody had some type of gimmick or something. I was the only one talking about relationships, family, growing dreadlocks, just basic. I was the only one. So when you see somebody out there talk crazy, they following me though. And something else too, I'm 67 years old. Why my technical skills is more advanced than the younger brother? You know why? Because the younger brother, all he been hollering is Africa. We ain't got no technical skills. See, he hollering about ancient Kemet, how great they was. But he can't push a button and do this. know why? Because I'm the CEO of Rule the World Records. I got a record label. I got songs on television. I'm a musician. I produce. I mix music. I produce artists. I produce music. I had to learn technical skills. I have to know how to work these cameras. I have to know how to work these microphones. I have to know a skill because I'm the CEO of a record label. History ain't gonna teach you how to do this. So you'll see somebody know everything about history but can't do nothing in 2025. You know everything about history. You hollering to the top of your neck about ancient Kemet. But when I go to YouTube, it look like the Flintstones. Primitive as hell. Why? Because you way back there and you need to catch up instead of being mustard. You need to catch up. Yeah, you need to catch up with Big Pharaoh. Because it's lights, cameras, action, baby. Shout out to everybody on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Facebook. I'm on TikTok. Well, they kicked me off. They kicked me off for everything. That's a whole other story. They kicked me off because they don't want me to teach the youth. So they kicked me off. They hate me. The powers that be watching me closer than anybody. I can't say nothing. Because they know I'm putting y'all up on real game. Because I was told all y'all need to be on YouTube. All y'all need to get your technical skills up. Get your skills up. Because you weren't about ancient Kemet, you weren't about ancient Africa, you weren't about ancient Israel, and your ass is ancient, dusty, and behind the times. It don't make no sense, no 60, I'm finna be 68 in February. Why am I more advanced than a younger brother? Because they ain't spending no time learning nothing else. You got dudes out here 20 years younger than me, can't work their phone like I can work my phone. Can't do nothing. I'm looking at me on my phone while I'm over here. You young people got to catch up to today and step up with what's going on today so you can keep up today, so you can function today. If anything pop out, you can't be running out with no musket. You got to be up to what's going on today. History, mystery is worthless. I don't know. I know. I just talked to a friend. I was going to say I don't know nobody, but I'll be lying. I just talked to a friend and say one of their relatives going to school. I said, what they going to be? She said, a historian. I said, you better tell their mama, what kind of mama they got? They ain't going to make no money being no historian. They got to wait for that rare job at some museum somewhere. That ain't no plenty of jobs for no, who hiring historians? I said, look, when your children get go to school, you tell them right off the top, medical. What you tell them? Go into medical. Because people are always going to need medical. If you got a son or whatever, they want to do that then. Electrician, plumber, carpenter, ironworks, concrete, driver. Some skill to pay the bills. Don't you all tie your life up in the history, arguing about if you're a Native American or African. Now, I'll be honest with you. I would argue with you if I'm a Native American or African, if there was a grand prize. Yeah, if it was a grand prize, yeah, I'll argue with you. But for no money, I don't give a damn what I am. It don't pay. have realizing what you are paid you? The only realization I've ever seen in my life that could pay us is the realization that we foundational Black Americans and that we want to sue the government for reparations. That is the only identity in my whole life that could pay. But now when it comes to standing on an identity to get what was stolen from us, now you're all over the place. You want to be a Pan-African, an African Pan, and all this. You ain't want to stand on that solid to fight for what they took from our ancestors. Because our ancestors is anybody before us. Our ancestors ain't got to go back no 5,000 years. Your great-grandmama is your ancestor. Your grandmama and granddaddy, if they not here, them your ancestors. All this ancestors way back then while you ignoring your ancestors from 200 years ago. That's bogus. It's people out here we know more about what's going on in ancient Israel and ancient Arabia and ancient Kebulon than they even know who their great-great-great-great-grandfather is. Ask them, who's your great-great-great-grandfather? They don't even know. But they know about Imhotep. You know about Imhotep, but you don't even know your relatives. You ain't got your timeline. You ain't got your lineage laid out so you can get your reparations. Y'all better start getting y'all lineage laid out. Look, a lot of people going to be mad. But here go the thing. They say, how could you say history no good? First thing is, I'm number one in history. That's the first thing. I'll take your best historian and destroy him. So it ain't like I'm saying history ain't no good and I'm not the master of it, because I'm a master of ancient history. We don't even want to go there. And I'm talking about we can go all the way back to Mu and Atlantis. And we can go to Saturn if you want to get real deep with it. But that don't pay nothing. Unless you could take me to Hollywood and they want to shoot a big budget film, I ain't interested. I ain't interested in depicting all that. Where the bag at? Where the bag? Now, if you want to make an ancient Kemetic movie and put some dollars up, okay. But just sitting around barking about something that's not applicable, about something that ain't recent history and ain't something that ain't futuristic, ain't gonna help us tomorrow and the next day, man, miss me with that. It ain't nothing about ancient Kemet gonna help me tomorrow here in Chicago. I got to get up every day and turn on the news in Chicago and know what's going on in Chicago. Because if I don't know what's going on in Chicago and I decide to go pick up a shirt over on 43rd, it's a war on 43rd, I mess around and catch a stray over there. And what, somebody going to come from ancient Kemet and give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and a surgery and bring me back to life if I get popped out here on the streets because I don't know what's going on in my environment now? That was cool. What I'm trying to tell you people is the study of ancient Kemet and all that was cool for that time period. That's over. Y'all the next generation. That's been done. Next. We're not going to keep passing that down to the next generation. We did it because we didn't know nothing. And then we found out. And now that we found out, let's move on. It served its purpose because we did not know nothing. Because my parents from Alabama with very little education. So it was great that I learned that stuff, but it would have been horrible if I spent a whole big chunk of my life in that and I didn't learn music and I didn't learn engineering. I didn't learn mixing and mastering. I didn't get into the music business. I didn't become a professional vendor and other things I know how to do. if I didn't do those other things, get my technical skills up, what good would that stuff do me? Nothing. It's nothing I talk to my children about. It's nothing I have desire for my children. I studied and realized I didn't want a slave name and changed my name. My children don't got to think my sons don't got to think about that no more. Why my sons got to think about that? They're already born without a slave name. They're already born with the name that I took. I changed the name my daddy had changed it. So they ain't got to think about that. Why would I have them think about what I already accomplished? And the sad thing about it is we got all these brothers out here teaching all this knowledge and stuff, but our people dropping at 30, 40, 50 years old from bad diet. And you don't see these brothers pushing nothing, telling our people to eat nothing. And a lack of history is not unaliving us. What's unaliving us is too much salt, too much sugar, diabetes. That's the problem. And you don't see none of these scholar experts teaching our people nothing about how to take care of themselves. What difference do it make if you know where you came way back from ancient Kemet and you got high blood pressure, you got diabetes? You're on dialysis, waiting for a new kidney, but you know everything about ancient Kemet. But you're on dialysis. If we was pushing any knowledge on Black people in America, it would have to be nutrition and health. That is a fact. Our biggest problem ain't no lack of history. Our problem is what we consuming. Alcohol, substance abuse, a whole bunch of flesh and cheese and bread. Every day. Flesh, bread, cheese, flesh, bread, cheese, flesh, bread, cheese. No moisture. No food that contains any moisture in it. And all the food is dry. All our children drinking artificial flavors, artificial color preserving. You hollering to the top of your lungs about somebody way back in Kemet 1 billion years ago that ate better than you did. Them people ate better than we do. But when it's really something that we really need, where we at? Let me show y'all something. And you tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Watch this. Somebody sitting around hollering and screaming about accounts. He talked about some stuff 1 billion years ago. And look at this. It don't make no sense, man. You know, I don't know what to tell you about us. I really don't. Look. African American adults are 60% more likely than non-Hispanic adults to have been diagnosed with diabetes. We teaching about some a billion years ago. 1 billion years ago. We talk about some 1 billion years ago. Look, about 4 out of 5 African American women are overweight and obese. Make it make some sense. Our sisters out here way overweight and dropping like flies. Not only that, our sisters is passing away from chemicals on their hair. It's talking about ancient Kemet and ancient Israel and ancient Mecca and the Moors way back. Is that going to help that? Is that going to do anything about that? I'm just asking for a friend. Is any of that information going to help us? Because we sick as a dog. It's all fake. And let me tell you something too. African Americans are 3 times more likely to screen positive for a peripheral artery disease. So we 3 times likely to have artery disease. Let me tell you something. When the Black conscious movement, you know why Black consciousness didn't go nowhere? The main reason that the Black conscious movement didn't go nowhere, because when we started being aware of our heritage, we also became aware of taking care of our health. And a lot of these Black power, Pan-African types, they wanted to lean heavy on the Black militancy, the history, the religion. They didn't want to do the health. And to be honest with you, a lot of the Black conscious people, the ones sold us out. The reason we so sick. Because they wanted to talk the talk, but they didn't want to walk the walk. So they never got out there. If you go back and you look at Sarnetta TV, you don't see nobody telling you how to eat. They're all over there debating the Hebrews versus the Egyptians. You didn't see no information about our health, none, because everybody over there was selling us out, selling us down the drain to poisons. That's a fact. If you go back, you look at any of these scholars and look at their lectures, they ain't talking about nothing about us taking care of ourselves. They talking about some old nonsense. While our people is sick as a dog right now today. They sold us out because it was easy to talk a bunch of rhetoric than it was to actually change. And that's why you never seen me mingle with them, because in the 80s, if you didn't include vegetarianism, veganism, you was bootleg. When you get up to that era, that internet era, with Polite and all them, they buried that part and they sold us out. They sold us out. So you're going to see a brother, he going to have all these videos and stuff about all the galactic and back in Atlantis. He ain't going to tell you nothing about how to take care of yourself. Because he one of the main ones sold us out. Took him, he wasn't eating right worth nothing. When he was running his mouth, that man was eating trash and leading our people down the wrong way. Wasn't taking care of himself at all. They was never conscious. Black consciousness, the consciousness in Black consciousness was how you ate. Point blank period. Whether it was Noble Drew Ali, they had an eating plan. Nation of Islam, eating plan. Rastas, Itals Vital. No matter what you pick, there was an eating plan. And us ancient Egyptian spacemen, we were straight plant-based. Them new bootleg Egyptian dudes, you do know Set was the devil. like TV set trip. You do know set was the dark side. I'm gonna just leave that right there. We'll just leave that there and just we don't even want to go there. Because Set was the dark side. Set wasn't the light. Set is the root word for Satan. Satan. That's the snake. That's the serpent. So that's where the split from the Amen and the Aton. The Amen was on the Satan side. They was the ones abusing their brothers and sisters that was from the children of Israel. The Amens, the Sets, the ones that were set tripping. And they abused them. And they told them they could pray as long as at the end of their prayer they say what? Amen. So when you hear the church saying amen at the end of their prayer, that's proof of the bondage in Kemet under evil pharaohs. Because let me remind you, all wickedness started in Kemet. Because Kemet is the landing space where the aliens came, where the black aliens came and created man. That was right there where the Nile and everything is at. That's why the Great Pyramids is lined up with the galactic stars. And that's all righteousness and evil come from there. And some of the old debates, the Hebrew Israelites exposed the weird stuff. Go look at some of the pictures in Kemet. You're going to see some weird pictures. Facts. That was not no righteous place. That was the foundation of good and evil. Ancient Kemet. So everybody talking about that ain't on the bright side. They could be talking about that and be on the dark side. But Set is the devil. That's why the TV is called a what? The TV Set. We worship Ra, right? In the sky. We don't worship when Ra go down, what you call it? The sun what? Set. The sun set is meaning the sun going down. Well, we want the sun up. Sunset, that's the dark side. That's the night. When the sun set, the vampires come out. So the word set, I'm just saying. The ancient Egyptians have the snakes on their crown because there's two snakes. If the snake got his tail in his mouth, then it represents eternity. If the snake don't got his tail in his mouth, it represents evil. And many of the pharaohs at ancient Kemet was evil. Many of them was evil. Everything starts there. All good and all evil. That's not no righteous place. That's the beginning of everything. Good and bad. Up and down. Left and right. The Set people was the one trying to kill Akhenaton. Akhenaten, they was trying to unalive him. They was trying to unalive him. Because Akhenaten, was the son of the Pharaoh born by Joseph's sister. And Akhenaten is Moses. But we don't even want to go there. But somebody put up the money, though, and they get did dirty. You know the story about Moses, and he was off, right? Well, that Pharaoh got Joseph's sister pregnant. They built her Tulamara out, and she had the baby, Akhenaten. And when Akhenaten came up, his mother taught him, his mother was a Hebrew Israelite, and she taught him about one God. And so when by his mother being a Hebrew Israelite and his father being an ancient Egyptian, he was living with his mother because the daddy had to hide the son because Seti and them was trying to kill him. Trying to alive him if he really just wanted to smoke. So he had to hide the baby. So the mother taught him the one God theory. So when he raised up, the daddy put him in control and he came out with the Aton. That's why my name Aton. We don't do Amen. Amen is down. Aten is up. So he came and he destroyed all of they snake worshiping, serpent worshiping deities. And he came out with the Aton, which means that God is for everybody. That God is like the sun. And the same way the sun shine on everybody, God shine on everybody. Well, Seti and them hated him and wanted him unalive. So they chased him and a lot of people left. And that's Moses and the people that left. And it just wasn't Moses and Hebrew Israelites left. Ethiopians left. South Africans left. A lot of people left. Because when you read in the Bible and it say that Joseph's brothers came to Egypt looking for food because it was famine everywhere, they wasn't the only one that came to Egypt. People from all over the Middle East came to Egypt to look for food. But when you read the Bible, you just reading just the story from the Hebrew Israelites. You got to read other books I read to follow the other families that were there. But I will tell you something interesting. Abraham slept with his Egyptian woman and had Ishmael. So Ishmael was half Hebrew Israelite, half Egyptian. When the brothers put Joseph in the hole and Joseph ended up in Kemet, here's the question. When the rest of the children of Israel came and found out that was Joseph and they came there, did they look for Ishmael's family? When the Hebrew Israelites ended up back in Kemet, did they look for Ishmael's mother's people? Because remember, Abraham got an Egyptian woman pregnant, had Ishmael first. Ishmael's the firstborn. Ishmael was the one really supposed to be the one. It wasn't supposed to be Isaac. Isaac was bootleg. The oldest son was supposed to have the righteousness. But they was pushing hate against the Egyptian woman. So they cast Ishmael out. And Ishmael in them became what's known today as the Nation of Islam. But the point is that she was from Egypt and they ended up back in Egypt. So did they look for their family when they ended up back in Egypt? Think about it. Because Isaac and Ishmael was brothers. And Isaac is Jacob's daddy, which would make them the 12, the sons, that's their granddaddy. So that's their granduncle. So did they look for their granduncle and his people when they ended up back in Egypt? What about that? But I wasn't gonna say nothing. But Set's not positive anyway. So brothers need to study anyway for picking that name. That name said he was a demon. Said he wasn't righteous. Over here is I turn up, I'm in down. Said he is from the house I'm in. They worshipped all kind of idols and snakes and all type of negativity. That's a fact. I'm just saying, it's Big Pharaoh. My name was Pharaoh El-Aton in 1982. It's Big Pharaoh. Ugh. I just said, I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to do it. But for a bag, though, for a bag, I'll do them dirty. I'll drag them all. For a bag, like 5 racks, I'll go dust off the books. I dust off the books and brush off and come out. No, my teacher ain't Dr. Ben. My teacher Sun Ra. My teacher Sun Ra. And Pharaoh El-Aton. Yeah, my teacher Peter and Sun Ra. The elders. The real elders. Yeah. I do you dirty, like, really. So why you think my name Pharaoh Ramesses El-Aton? It's Aton up, it's I'm in down. We don't set trip. The gang set trip, don't they? Look up the word set, TV set trip, set them up. Set, Satan. No, they're not going to honor Sun Ra. Sun Ra's a musician. So Sun Ra wouldn't be in the same category as Dr. Ben because Dr. Ben was a lecturer. And Dr. Ben's not famous for being a lecturer. Dr. Ben's famous for tours. Dr. Ben was a lecturer in Soul Book, but Dr. Ben's claim to fame is that he was taking black people to Egypt. That's what Dr. Ben was known for. So when he went on his lectures, he had people sign up to go to Egypt with him. He was doing tours. And then when he passed away, that other dude took it over. The light-skinned dude took it over. The light-skinned dude took it over. I forgot bro's name. But that's what Dr. Ben made his money tours. That's where he made his money from. And Dr. Ben, everything he did came from the Black Student Union. So the Black Student Union is responsible for all that. See, if you ain't got no Black Student Union, you don't got nothing. See, if you go back, right? Yeah, Quasi. If you go back and you look, you'll see a whole lot of videos came out. Well, there was videos out here, but they didn't come out until YouTube got popular. Now, a lot of stuff just didn't get videoed. Yeah, Quasi. He took it over after Ben. But Ben was going on tours and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, we like Dr. Ben. Don't get me wrong. I like Dr. Ben. But the problem was with Dr. Ben is my generation, we was doing 360. So, right? So we was doing 360 knowledge. So he didn't fit. So in other words, for me, I'm doing 360. So I'm taking Ben, Dick Gregory, this one, and putting them together and making a circle and then coming standing on that whole circle. Seti wasn't in the move then. By the time Seti got in the move had fell out on some negative demonic stuff because the brothers didn't want to do the 360. The brothers didn't want to have, the 360 was natural hair, dreadlock, natural hair, no comb none to your hair, natural man, natural food, ital is vital, you eating plant-based. You got the dreadlocks. You got the plant-based. You get rid of your slave name, right? So it was a 360 knowledge. Dr. Ben was just one piece of it. Then you got Dick Gregory. You got all the different schools, and then you take all of that into one. But then when we got to the 90s, the new group that SETI came under, they wanted to half step. They didn't want to do the 360. They wanted to still be named Jackson, but call themselves Amin Ra. So his whole group he came up with was weak, was kitty cat. Straight up. He come up under the weak school. We come up at the school where you really got to change your last name. You have to change your last name. You have to eat right. You have to stand on Black Revolution. You have to stand on knowledge of self. You have to have like the whole thing. But you see, the brothers and sisters, by the time you got to the late 80s, they didn't want to do that. People start wanting to take shortcuts. They want to start taking shortcuts. So now you could just be any old brother and just give yourself a name. You know what I'm saying? And then you can get out there and preach about Malcolm X, but you ain't really going to get the X on your name and change your name like Malcolm X. You just talking Malcolm X, but you ain't living Malcolm X. Because Malcolm X, the X was temporary till you got rid of your slave name. So you take the X until you become Malik Shabazz. You take the X until you become Jabbar, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali, and you no longer Cassius Clay. SETI and them group call themselves something, but that ain't their name. So with Big Pharaoh, it's like this. If I'm in the car with you and you call yourself something and the police pull us over and they pull my license out and say, okay, Pharaoh El-Aton. If they pull your license out and don't call you by your conscious name, you bootleg. You ain't standing on nothing. You bootleg. You fence straddling. You ain't Malcolm. You ain't them. You ain't the ones. You're supposed to get rid of that slave name. Your baby's supposed to be born with that righteous name. So that's the group they was that all got on Sarnetta TV. That was a whole bootleg setup. Well, your name's Sarnetta, but your real name Frankie. Your name ain't no damn Sarnetta. None of them dudes, that was none of their names. That's none of their names. None of them was named that. That's the bootleg group. Them the ones that ruined Black consciousness, drug it into the ground. So when you see all this wildness out here and you see all this rap, them the ones did it. Them the ones destroyed Public Enemy and X-Clan. That group, the group SETI came in, is the ones destroyed Black consciousness, made it bootleg. Well, you could just call yourself something. That ain't even your real name. They the ones that destroyed it. Because they didn't want to do it 100%. They was eating any old thing, just talking. They was drinking, they was washing their mouth out with scope, all kind of stuff. They wasn't standing on nothing. Them the people that destroyed Black consciousness from the Black community. That group that SETI come up with. That's the group that destroyed it. Facts. That's the group that allowed rappers to come and rap all this stuff, and they wasn't even none of that. X-Clan now wasn't none of that. They was on that powder. X-Clan was bootleg. There wasn't that. The only ones really standing on it was KRS-One. I think maybe Poor Righteous Teachers. Brand Nubian wasn't standing on that. Look at Lord Jamar. Yeah, he wasn't there. God, no disrespect. But you gotta understand, they was little. You understand, when I'm watching them, they was the shorties. You understand? You understand? They was the shorties. So when I turn on BET and watch them, they was the shorties. They wasn't like a lot of y'all young people. They like y'all elders. They was my shorties. I was the one dressing them. I was the one selling them stuff. Yeah, Chuck D was bootleg because he had somebody up on there that was on substance abuse. You can't get on stage with Flavor Flav talking about it. That's why Griff had to leave. Griff was the real one. Chuck D was bootleg. Flavor Flav wasn't supposed to be on the stage. One time a rock fell out of his pocket right on the stage. That's one of the main reasons they fell out. So they watered it down. That's why I don't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, a lot of people started with me. They gone, they trim off their Nazi. They still got their slave name. They back eating pork and anything, artificial flavors, artificial color preserve. Whole bunch of people fell off. It ain't that many people still here for me, one of the original ones. It ain't a bunch here. And then they watered it down to make it just so anybody could listen. And all you had to do was listen to some stuff and feel all jiggly all over. So like they turned black consciousness into black conscious Christianity. It was the same thing as the Christian church. They watered it down and they made it where you talk all this radical stuff and everybody feel all bubbly inside. But when you go outside, ain't nobody standing on nothing because the movement was so weak, it never transpired outside. You understand? You got to really have your antennas on to see what I see. So when I used to go and watch, okay, so like, so when they had the debates, when Sunday had the debates, and I watch them on TV or I watch them on the internet, this is what I see. I see a bunch of black people that come, right? They be dressed up in their costume, right? They black tonight, right? And see, you can see them go buy they plant-based food because you got vegan food there because everybody got to pretend, right? Everybody got to pretend they really doing the whole 360. So somebody like me, when I see it, I can see you don't eat like that. I can see that the food you got is a novelty that you fronting. So when I'm looking at it, it ain't like how everybody else looking at it because I'm really the OG at this. So I synced all the fraudulent. So that's why people say, well, why you dressed like this? Because they put on the costume and messed it up. So I took it off and just dressed like a regular black American because they put on all them outfits and all them unks and stuff as just a costume. They wasn't really that. So now if you had on a costume, you look bootleg. So that's why you don't see me wear the costume. We used to dress conscious, but all the bootleg people started doing it. So they could look like something they wasn't. So a dude could go put a fancy hat on his head with an ankh and stuff on it, but still go to the European barbershop and get the Greek haircut and let them put the scissors in the comb to their head. That really ain't our thing. That's not our culture. We only cut our hair when we had a lice infestation. We didn't cut our hair until we was captured under Islam. Ain't nobody had no razor blade or no clippers in ancient times living in nature. Who had clippers? Who had a comb? Who had a brush? An ancient man. Ancient man ain't had no brush, ain't had no comb. He was an original man. Outside drinking coconuts and living off nature. He wasn't no Barbie, Ken, trimming himself all up. That ain't nature. That ain't natural man. Natural man go back to the beginning, not in the middle. So original man go back before there was any clippers and scissors and all that. What, you know what I'm saying? Let me show you something. When you start talking about cutting your hair and all that, that's the Babylon, right? That's the man make the sword to come to conquer you. So you get all them razors and stuff from Gillette, right? This is your God. This is how you keep your hair cut. Gillette. But the same people that make Gillette make the military weapons and made the weapons to conquer you. It's the same company that made the Gatling guns and put all them steel weapons together to conquer you. And then when they conquered you, they trim off your natty and have you looking like a peach, looking sweet like a peach. What they do? Samson was chasing the funny girl. She put some in his drink. He got drunk. What they do? They cut his hair off. What they do? You had 12 tribes of Israel. Judah wanted to stand strong with 2 other tribes. They kept their natural hair, kept their wool. The other ones wanted to follow the Greeks and the Romans and them, and that's how they split. So when you say Jews, the Jews is only the 3 tribes that split. The tribes that split with the Judites. So they the Judites, the Judites, the Judites. When you cut that short, you get what? Jews. So the Jews ain't even all the tribes. The Judites was the ones that didn't want to be like the Romans in them. The other tribes wanted to be like the Romans. The Egyptians did, a lot of Egyptians did the same thing. They want to be like somebody else. And still today, yeah, they split with Levi and Benjamin, and they stayed natural. The other one sold out. And winners want to look like a Roman. Because all that stuff is Roman. That's Roman. Gillette and razors and clippers, that's all Babylon, that's all Roman. That's Roman. If you go to ancient Kemet and you see somebody with a bald head, that was after a lice infestation. Because in like deserts and warm climates like Hawaii and stuff like that, they have lice. Mexico, they have lice. Lice being warm climates. So anytime we'd have a lice infestation, everybody cut all their dreads, everybody take all their clothes off, everybody take all their beddings, and we go burn it. And we make all new stuff. Because that's the only way you could clean lice out. If it get a lice infection in ancient time and you live in a halfway desert, like it would be bad. So when you look through history and you see them haircuts, you know a lice infection recently came through. Other than that, they ain't got them big crowns on because they got no haircut. It's hair in there. Who gonna get a big old crown like that? How's it gonna sit on a bald head? Make it make some sense. So you see them Egyptians with them big old crowns, it's stuffed with locks in there. I know citizens on combs and all that. This how I and I used to try in the ancient time. You know what I mean? Not the bongo. Okay? It's facts. That's how we was moving. These facts. These facts. Man, we need a haircut. You know what I'm saying? So all I used to do is just be talking. You know what I'm saying? I be trying to be cool and not step on them and just let them do their thing. But then just do your thing and stay out of reparations. Don't mention reparations and you'll be fine. I'll leave you alone. But don't be mentioning reparations and FBA and Tariq and all that. Just stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? Before you get dead dirty. You think we had them big old things on our head because we was bald headed? You really believe that? I'm just saying. Just so y'all know the knowledge. I ain't saying you got to do none of this stuff. I'm just showing you where the split came at. The split came with the new group that came into the 90s. They weaked out. They took the eating out. They took the hair out. They took the name change out. And you could just be bootleg and just call yourself something and just blurt out a bunch of history. And then now you official. You ain't have to stand on nothing. Well, it was me in our generation. You had to show these people who you are. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I became plugged in with the Vice Lords. I was 40 years old. I got locked up for a case. I didn't join no gang at that age. I came in on the news. They said, "What's your name?" I said, "My name Pharaoh." They're like, "All right, Pharaoh." And one day when it's time for me to go to court, they came in. They said, "Pharaoh El-Aton." I'm like, "Right here." And all the Blackstones, Vice Lords, they up under the pyramid. They said, "Joe, your real name Pharaoh?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my real name." Like, oh. You know what I'm saying? They started showing me all their pyramids and all that. So that's how I got plugged in. But man, I wasn't in there because I was no goddamn Girl Scout though. So my book gonna show you, me going from one side to the other side to the middle. That's what my book is about. You know what I'm saying? Because even though I was on that righteous, something happened to me in the streets, and I woke up on I woke up on dummy. It took me a long time to get right here, but now I got split personality. So that's why I don't beef. That's why you ain't gonna see me beef with dude, because I don't beef because I got PTSD. I got split personality. I was in the trenches. 4 months in Cook County Jail. Got out, got married, lived in O-Block. Be outside like for real. It ain't no joke. But I got myself to a point that I was taking care of my father, and that's how I started talking to y'all, taking care of my father till he passed away. And then when I got married the last time, then I can't, because of the woman and the children, I slowly got back into like some form of positivity. Because after I got stabbed and learned how to walk and stuff again, I would never be over here talking. So that's why I can't beef. That's why you ain't gonna see me make no response and all that stuff. Cause I don't know how to do that. I only know how to do one thing when it's up. So I try to avoid that type of stuff. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can hang around some of the old crew I was with, but I can't really, you know. Plus, I'm on the internet, and they see me wild out. Then the shorties in Chicago be like, man, Pharaoh, you be out here telling us to stop banging and all that. You was on the internet banging with dudes. See, that's not a good look for me. So I'm not over here really to bring up nothing. I'm just over here trying to teach y'all. I figured y'all need to learn about why I don't like history unless it's recent history, and why I don't want y'all really be big on history. Y'all need to learn a skill. History, all them brothers that did all that history, they be broke or they got to hustle. They got to hustle by doing tours and take you to Egypt and shit like that because they can't make no money. If Dr. Ben didn't get them lectures, he wouldn't even sold no books. He only sold them books at them lectures, and he didn't sell a lot of them because I bought one. It was only a couple of us bought the book. He was struggling because, see, Dr. Ben, they blackballed him because he wanted to teach the real history, so they didn't want him in none of the universities. Because in the universities, they wanted him to teach the lie the way they taught it. So like he told me, he said he had to put the wrong answer on his test just to pass. Because if he put the real answer, they'll say it was the wrong answer. But he knew the real answer. So they kind of did being bogus. But I never really messed with him because we was doing the 360 and he started disrespecting the plant-based food. And we wasn't having no pork either. We wasn't trying to hear none of that. We was really on some new revolutionary stuff. So we wasn't trying to hear none of that. And it was too strict for everybody. So that's why you don't see no consciousness. You see how everybody keep talking about why is the rap like that? Why the music? And the reason it is because the conscious brothers have stepped. All that conscious rap was built off of us being 100%. When the brothers and sisters in the streets and in the culture start half-stepping, then the rappers would half-step. Then the conscious rap gonna fall off because they was bootleg. This, I'm telling y'all the real recent history. The reason the music is not conscious because brothers start getting in the conscious community and was half-assed. They wasn't changing their name. They wasn't going plant-based. They wasn't being gods and wearing their natural hair. They was going to electric shave, Chic and Gillette. They wasn't standing on natural man. They want to be pretty and cute. They want to be cute. So they want their hairline because they're feminine. Even to the point now they got their dreads all braided up like girls. They're not masculine no more. They not gorillas. They not real lions with a natural lion mane. If they was lions, they'll go to the beauty shop and get a pressing curl on their mane. And so when the brothers in the streets was half doing it, then the rappers gonna do it a quarter of the way, and the gangsters is gonna do gangster stuff 100%, and 100% gonna always beat 30%. So the NWAs and them pushed them bootlegs out of the way because they was fake. All that ladies first dressed up in all that red, gold, black, and green, one stand on none of that. They wasn't that, they was faking because they thought that was the new way to make money. And it wasn't nobody on the street standing on nothing. So they ain't have to answer to nobody. Because the streets watered it down. Like a bunch of bootleg Malcolm X and Khalid Muhammad came up. Bootleg. Because us original people, we wasn't feeling Khalid on medication and all that. That was whack. You see how if I say that now, How people say I'm disrespecting, how I'm disrespecting when I'm the big homie. I'm the man. I'm the one laid the law down. Khalid and them came into our thing. They came into our thing. When I went to the first Savior's Day, I had my locks already. I was already a general. Mustafa will tell you that, because that's my childhood friend. I was already on that. The last time I seen Mustafa, he left out my apartment mad, because he tried to tell me I got to pick some. I had all these pictures of different brothers in my closet. He said, you got to pick some. I said, I ain't got to pick nothing, because I ain't finna get no haircut, and I ain't finna pray 5 times a day. So I didn't tell him that part, but that's what it basically meant. Bro, I don't do haircuts. I don't do haircuts, bro. I don't deal with razors to my body. Everything natural. I ain't never cut this. I just don't have no hair, don't grow. I don't have to cut no. My daddy didn't have no sideburns. I deal with natural. We try to go as close as we can back to original men, not Barbie and Ken. Well, all that disappeared when you start getting like to the mid to the late 80s. The Jamaicans weaked out. They start going Yellow Man and Shaba. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me this ain't the real history. The Jamaicans weaked out. They start going Yellow Man and Shaba. Grand Pooba left and was overweight. So when nobody honoring him as no type of black consciousness, and you fat, you know what I'm saying? So the real conscious brothers like me, we looking at him like, what is this? You see Sadat X, you see he fell all the way off, ain't been taking care of himself. You see Lord Jamar cut his locks off and got butt naked on a European Man TV show on Oz and disgraced himself. That ain't black consciousness. Well, he coming in following our thing and couldn't even do it right. Because he a little boy too. He after me. I synced him. I watched him when he came in. These little boys to me. With all due disrespect. These little boys, I synced them when they came in. I was already that when KRS One of them came in. On my soul. Look at the dates. What's the day KRS One came out? Because this right here, this like 1979. This 1979. What year they came out? Let me see. KRS One first album. That's 1993, man. Do the math. If this me in 79, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, that's 14 years later, they come on. That's after I get back from Hawaii. I had already been to California, Hawaii, grew up in the mountains, and came back. I remember I seen Run DMC when I was on the Big Island. This white dude that I used to do stuff with, he had a TV Well, I didn't do nothing with my boy knew him. I didn't even know who he was, to be honest. My boy said, this dude down here, I got to go get some seeds from him. I think he was trying to get there. He had some good seeds to plant. Right? All right. I remember that because he broke up, because everybody was mad that he broke up with Miss Melody. Okay, their first time was 1990. So that was 11 years. So I was 11 years after this, because it's 79. So 1990. By that time, I was back in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So 1990. So my locks was like 12 years old by then. So I used to dress all of them. I used to, you know what I'm saying? I used to sell them hats, them, and all that stuff. That's how I ended up in the Def Jeff video, dropping rhymes on drums. Because I was out there, they used to wear my stuff in the rap video. And like, Def Jeff wants you to come stand in the rap video. That's what I had just got back from Hawaii when I did that video. But I used to dress all of them. Bobby Brown, you know, Bobby Brown had on the leather Rasta hat, the short Rasta hat. I sold his manager that. I dressed all of them, Burning Spear, all the reggae artists, the rap artists. Shout out to Nicholas Novelty, because I was in LA and I would order stuff from Nicholas Novelty. So when I get it in LA, ain't nobody in LA seen it because it's in New York. So I was making a killing. But this is before I even left Chicago. And I had first started making Rasta pins, that red, gold, and green pen. I made that. And I would go downtown and I would go to reggae shows and sell them for like $3 each. That was one of my first Rasta hustles. But I've been hustling since I was in the 7th grade, though. I started slinging in 7th grade. But it wasn't the rappers' fault. The brothers in the consciousness, they started falling off. You know what I'm saying? They started falling off and like was halfway doing it. It was like a fad. So we never could keep nothing going, because if we had 10 people, let's say if we had 30 people, you look up 5 years later, only 4 or 5 of them still doing it. Everybody else then went turned back to a Negro. You know what I'm saying? So we was never able to build no movement, because black folks didn't really want to stand on nothing and do for themselves. And they controlled the jobs. So they was forcing us to look like how they wanted us to look to work. So if you wanted to get a job, you had to look like what they tell you to look like. And you know how black people is, we wouldn't create our own nothing. And imagine, in the late 70s, in the 80s, we could have did it. But they didn't want to do their own. Something about the black man, he don't never want to do his own. And then when you start talking about black consciousness, all them schools of thought, they started beefing. Sarnetta was a big part of the destruction of the community, because the debates was like beefing. When the debates was over, they would still be beefing. So you couldn't get the brothers together, because this one a Muslim, this one RBG, this one this one's this one's that. So it wasn't no longer the conscious community. So they got rid of the conscious community. See, originally when I got in it, the conscious community was only when we showed up. So if there was a festival and we showed up, that was the conscious community when we actually showed up. So if they had a Kwanzaa at Leimert Park in LA, then all of the different brothers and sisters would show up. Now, all our schools of thought was small. So what you'll find with people is when all your schools of thought is small and y'all get together, y'all will unite, Because when y'all ain't together, y'all little movements is weak. So when we get together, Hebrew brothers and Rasta brothers and Kemetic brothers, we were all Pan-African, whatever. We would all be one because we was the weirdos of the black community. We was the ones doing that black stuff. But then as the group started to grow, they started to split. They started to debate different philosophies. See, when I was coming up, we didn't debate different philosophies. You was what you was, she was what she was. That's it. They started debating and tearing down each other's belief systems. That made them enemies. Because now you're trying to say me as a Hebrew is fake. Now you're trying to say me as a Kemetic is fake. And the Egyptians was doing weird, so they started exposing each other's stuff and destroyed the unity that we had as conscious people, because we was all outcasts from the regular blacks. So we was united. They destroyed all of that with the knowledge. That's why the knowledge is whack, because the knowledge destroyed a lot of stuff, because one brother want to prove his knowledge is right and exact, and the other brother's not. So y'all just need to know this. Don't waste your time with that stuff. You got children, you're going to have grandchildren. Man, all that conscious mumbo, bumbo, jumbo, that stuff is garbage. It ain't going to do nothing for you. I went to music college. I'm 67 years old. Right now, if I say, man, I want to go get a bag, I can go on a tour right now. Go to a pawn shop, buy me a nice Fender bass, get an amplifier, boom, look, find out who need a bass player, I'm gone. Ain't gonna take me no time to learn the songs. I'm on the road. Why? I got a skill. And you got to have the skills to pay the bills. And ain't no skills in black consciousness. Ain't no skills in that. Don't get into that. You can look at it, but don't get into that. Because if the brothers was conscious, they'd be unified. So why you want to get in something with a bunch of divided brothers? Now you got to pick which group of these weirdos you want to be in. Which group you going to get in. See what I'm saying? You know what the biggest unity was with the conscious community? It was the women. Because back in those days, we was coming from Negroes. So when we're coming from Negroes into consciousness is a very important period that nobody know about unless you was there. So from this period of Negroes from the South with the Black Power movement going into consciousness, you had different type of sisters. So you had Hebrew sisters, you had Muslim sisters, you had Pan-African, or not Pan-African, but African. It wasn't Pan-African, it was African culture. They wanted to look African because there was never no Pan-Africanism. It was all being Africa. So we wasn't really Pan-Africans. We was just dressing African, right? But what the thing was with the sisters is all the sisters needed a head wrap. So as young sisters wanted to come into any type of consciousness, they used to get together to teach each other how to wrap their heads. And so we went to the events, the unity, the visual unity. This is way back in the 80s, the late 70s, the late 80s. The visual unity was to see all the sisters with their head wraps. And the power was knowing each other's stuff. So we wasn't debating each other. So when I was coming up, your power was knowing all the brothers' stuff. That was our power. So you're a Muslim brother, you run to a Hebrew brother, you tell him shalom, and he tell you assalamu alaikum. That's how we was riding. And we felt like that was power for the Muslim brother to say shalom For the Hebrew brothers say, "Assalamu alaikum." This how we was rolling. We wasn't rolling like who believed what. We wasn't in that. We was rolling like we are outcasts. We're supposed to elevate the consciousness into business. We're supposed to have them Hebrew Israelites and Kemetic carpenters, them Hebrew Israelites and Kemetic auto mechanic shops. We were supposed to have that. We were supposed to take that direction into the money. I was always chasing the money, the conscious money. So that made it, I couldn't hang with a lot of brothers because a lot of brothers just wanted to stand around and talk consciousness, then get broke, then run back to the Babylon and beg for a job. I wasn't willing to do that. So I was getting out there making money, taking my consciousness to a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't get no brothers to be about no business. So that's why black consciousness is whack, because they ain't about nothing. I had to get out there by myself. That's me selling Burning Spears shirt right there. I had to go out there by myself because the brothers, they ain't on nothing. They didn't want to really work together and get no money. They just want to talk nonsense. See, I was out getting money. Shout out to Joseph, rest in peace to Joseph Hill from Culture. So I'm selling the brothers. He bought that shirt from me. So I'm at the Pan-African Fest. I'm at the Black Liberation Fest. I'm at the Malcolm X Day, Bob Marley Day, Reggae Fest, whatever. I'm there. I'm there in the community because we got to eat. But you couldn't get the brothers to do nothing. You couldn't get them. You couldn't get them to get no money. I'm trying to wonder how people get so confused. Like, people is confused. They think that a foundational Black American is supposed to hate an African. That's not what delineating is. Delineating is you're a Nigerian and you're an Ethiopian. So I'm going to talk about that later. Why do people that's already delineated mad at us for delineating? This is the people in Africa and the Caribbean that's already delineated are mad because we're delineating. Make that make sense. If you're a Jamaican, you're delineated. We just don't want to be Black American. And the reason we don't want to be Black American, because American is citizenship. So if a Black African come here and live, he becomes a Black American citizen. We want to be foundational Black Americans. You are not that. You can be a Black American because you're a Black person and you become an American citizen. But you cannot be a foundational Black American unless you can trace your lineage back to the 1800 census. That would prove that your family was in slavery. They haven't separated themselves from us. They are already separated and they don't know it. They're already separated from each other. An Ethiopian is Ethiopian. He is delineated from a Kenyan. So it's not a negative separation. So that's why it's so crazy, baby line, because delineating is not negative. Is it negative that the Yankees is playing the Cubs? They can't just be baseball. They got to delineate. That's the Chicago Cubs. They got on Cubs uniforms. That's the Yankees. It's just that's not separation. That's identification. That's not separation. Delineating is identifying. Delineating is identifying something specifically. That's what delineate means, to specifically identify something. And we want to be specifically identified as those people that was here during slavery. It's that simple. It has nothing to do with separation. It's just making us just like everybody else. So you have to wonder why nobody wants us to be like everybody else. Everybody else is delineated. We were delineated already as Black Americans, but Black America is not going to work because anybody could be an American and then just be Black. So that's not going to work. So we had to come up with something better. But to say, because somebody asked me if I'm FBA, why I got an onk on? And I'm saying, do these people know what FBA really, do they know what lineage is? Why are they mixing lineage with cultures and religions? That's crazy. And there's some people that's jumped in FBA that's doing the same thing. Like my brother Eddie, he Haitian. He's still my brother, but he Asian. He's delineated as an Asian. That don't mean he's separated. That means he's distinctly identified as an Asian. That's a good thing. How's that a bad thing? He's Asian. That's absolutely crazy. Hey, Eddie, they crazy. Suck my son. They crazy as hell. I'm like, that's not a bad thing. What is wrong with y'all? That's not a bad thing to specifically identify each other. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And then some FBA is trying to make it that because there ain't nobody teaching them. So they trying to make it some hate stuff. Like you got people that's FBA that think it means you don't like the other people. I'm like, that's not what that means. So you got some people call themselves FBA. They don't know what it is either. They don't necessarily want us ignorant. They don't understand, and nobody's doing a good job of explaining it. Everybody's just busy beefing. When brothers should be over here explaining exactly what it is. When y'all hear we talking about reparations and stuff, and I'm finna end this, go start getting your lineage in order. Go start getting your lineage in order. Start getting the family papers together. That's what y'all need to be doing. Start getting your family lineage on both sides. And we need to push for reparations. The push is weak. The push is weak. Get your family lineage. In order. That's great, Tim. Yeah, the guy Mike TV, I got to contact him. See, we've been working on it. On my father's side, now we just got to get my mother's side going. So we've been working on my father's side. I got some pictures to send. So we've been working on it. At the top, that's my daddy and all his brothers and sisters. And my daddy probably that little bitty one. You know what I'm saying? So it's time to get that stuff together. You know what I mean? And let's push them. Let's get this reparations for sure. You know what I'm saying? And eat right. Go follow me on Vegan Intel. Get yourself together so you can be here to get your reparations. You know, you ain't gonna get nothing if you ain't healthy. You know what I'm saying? victory.